Once again, it was John came up with all those guitar parts, those beautiful guitar parts.
That verse guitar part is insane.
That sort of thing where you're going like... That got kind of Jimi Hendrix, like, rhythm technique or whatever, but it had been done the way he did it a lot, and so doing it the way I did it on this song was just a different approach. So it doesn't sound like Jimi Hendrix, but in essence, it's not that far from home.
I taught John that lick, actually, so, and he took it from there, but it was, you know, it was the seed.
1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four, one. One, two, three, four. Hey everybody, Gary here with Pow Music, and in this lesson we're going to go over everything there really is to know about John Frusciante's amazing guitar parts on Snow Hey Yo. So we're going to analyze the structure, a little bit of the theory, we're going to go over the playing techniques. I also want to thank one of my long-term 5-year Pow Music patrons, Marty in Ireland, for bringing this to one of our live guitar hangs, which we do twice a week. This is a song that he was learning, and when he showed it to me and we all tried to learn it together, I realized this would be the perfect song to make a lesson on because it shows so much stuff. First of all, it's like an exercise in string skipping and alternate picking. It's also a masterclass in the cage system and these different cage voicings, the C shapes, the E shapes, the A shapes, the G shapes, the D shape. Is that everything? C, A, G, E, D. So there's all the cage voicings in here. The way he hammer-ons to pentatonic notes and how we have the pentatonic scale surrounding the chord voicings. The way he plays just a root and a third and mutes all the other strings. So this goes really great for students of my fretLIVE fretboard mastery program, where we have 3 out of 12 units which are on the cage system. units 7, 8, and 9. Currently we're in the winter 2023 cohort with 45 students, and we're on unit 9, so I'm excited to, in the nick of time, be able to release this lesson for them. But about 2 or 3 times a year I do the live version of the course, but at any time you could also enroll in the self-paced version. And the whole idea of the course is to learn not only how music works in general, but on the fretboard, but to apply the concepts that you're learning every step of the way to actually learn songs and create your own music. So every unit has both a theory component, a song learning activity, and a creative assignment. So if you want to learn more about the course, the link is in the description, along with a course trailer that takes you inside the course, and you'll also get to hear from former students on how it's impacted their guitar playing. And as always, there's a direct link in the description to the tab, either as a PDF or the playable tab as a GP or GPX file that you could open in Guitar Pro or Songster, slow down, loop sections, and that is for my generous POW Music patrons. If you click that link and become a patron, you'll get instant access to everything I've ever posted on the site. And also for patrons is part 2 of this lesson. So here on YouTube, we're gonna spend 20 minutes going really in depth on everything about the main verse riff, but then I do the same thing for another 20 minutes for patrons on the rest of the song. So that one link in the description will take you to all of that. All right, let's get into the lesson. So I know there's a few versions of this song. The footage that I posted of John is how he's playing it in 2022 or 2021 and more currently. So a couple of the chord voicings are a little different, but throughout the lesson, I'm gonna talk about some alternative ways to play it based on previous recordings or just based on what level you're at. Some chord voicings might be slightly easier, some fingerings might be slightly easier. So we'll address that as we go along. So the first riff is the most iconic riff of the song, obviously. So we're in the key of G sharp minor or B major. These are relative major and minor, so they have the same key signature, they're basically the same key. But the best way to think of this chord progression, which is a very famous pop progression, is 6 to 4 to 1 to 5. 6, 4, 1, 5. There's tons of songs with this chord progression. Here's just a list of some. There's actually a Wikipedia page with this chord progression or derivatives of this. So 1, 5, 6, 4, 6, 4, 1, 5, which is the minor version of that, where you just switch the first 2 chords with the second 2 chords. And so many Chili Peppers songs use these 4 chords. So we start 6th chord, the G sharp minor. So that's the E minor shape, thinking caged, right? And we want to think about the full chord shape, right? Here's the full chord shape. But we're starting on the 5th of the chord. 5, 1. We're going to start the riff by playing with the 2nd finger on the 5th of the chord, the ring finger right below it on the root, and then the index on the minor 3rd. So that's kind of middle and ring on fret 6 of the A and D string, or if we're counting toes to nose, the 4th and 5th string. And then the index finger on fret 4 of the 3rd string, or the G string. Okay, so we're gonna stick on this chord for a while, just to go over the picking pattern. We're gonna go down, up, down, up. Now, I've seen people cover this song using like sweep picking. That is something you can do, but I feel like to get the feel and the sound, the alternate picking, it's gonna give you that more funky attack and be less stiff. So I really recommend that you use this song as a way to work on alternate picking and string skipping. It's just a great workout, really, this riff. So the first 4 notes are down, up, and we're going counting toes to nose, strings 5, 4, 3, 4. Now we go back to string 3, and that's a down. So down, up, down. Now there, we get 3 notes for 1 pick. and we do a hammer-on pull-off between fret 4 and 6. So we've got... Right, so we're halfway there. Now you see he lifts up his hand to do the hammer-on. After we do the hammer-on pull-off, this is down, up, down, up, down, down, up. So the reason for that is that you're not breaking the momentum of your right hand. So the right hand just keeps this 16th note thing going on. So the right hand, and that's, so it's key to like funky playing to keep like a metronomic right hand. Like if we're thinking strumming, you know, we're not strumming, we're picking, but we don't want to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, because then we have to pause, and then it would be do 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 do, right? That's what I call the robot. Right, we're going to lose the rhythm, but if we keep this momentum, then it ends up down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. So we do have 2 consecutive downs, but that's only because here we're not picking twice, we're only picking once for all 3 notes. But my wrist keeps going. Okay, now, how should you pick it? When we looked in the very intro, we saw how John was kind of stabbing at the strings. He was going more like, it was very stabby. But when you watch him play it live, it's very flowy. Right? So what you want to try to get is where you're getting as little movement as possible in the wrist, right? So I have a tendency to be a little bit stabby, and to really get this in order, I had to kind of work on my stabbiness. This is what I mean by stabbiness, right? So I'm using so much wasted motion because I got to go both down and up, and I'm going this way, so I'm like all over the place. So I had to really work on how do I get the angle. So for me personally, how do I get the angle where I can just go through the string and not hit the next string? I think what everyone's going to have in common to get this riff is some sort of pick slanting. What I mean by pick slanting is if I just have the pick go straight through, it's going to hit the next string. And I'm going to get like more of a strum. But if it goes through the string and just misses the next string, then I'm good. See that? So now I could go down, up, because my pick is slanted and at a bit of an angle. So if it's at a bit of an angle that way, now it could just go through the strings without hitting the next string. So for me to get a little bit of that pick slant, I'm kind of tilting my hand up this way, personally. That's what works for me. Now, I've seen some people cover it online. Their technique is so beautiful that it looks easier than it is. Like they make it look so simple, like this guy. Check out his video. Like he's playing it at tempo, but it looks like so easy for him because he's just going through the strings without the stabbing, right? So it looks like he's using less energy. It's kind of like if you drive in a car with really stiff suspension and you could be going 60 and it feels like 80. But when you're driving a car with beautiful suspension, a race car, you're going 100 and it feels like 50, right? So that's how that guy's wrist looks so like slow. It almost appears as if the song is slower than it is. Whereas watching me play it, I think you could see how fast the song is, but I still managed to get it to work. Now you also have to realize that to play this song, the whole song, you got to be doing this for, you know, a minute at a time before going to the next section of the song. So you just want to work on feeling everything in your wrist relax, everything in your arm relax. Right? Try it at a slow tempo first, but you have to try to play it fast to see if your technique is sustainable. So practice it slow, but then see if what happens when you speed it up and if that technique feels like a technique that you could do fast, right? Because I could go like this real slow and have horrible technique, but still sound good at a slow tempo. But that technique isn't gonna be sustainable fast, right? It's gonna fall apart. Even though practicing slow is great to make sure you're nailing it with good tone, good timing, good technique, so that you could then speed it up. If you stay too long at that slow tempo without seeing if what you're doing works at a fast tempo, you might be developing a habit that really can't function at a fast tempo. Just something to keep in mind. So it's also worth noting that we're going to accent the hammer-on pull-off. So a little softer on the, and then a little harder on the. Right? And that will help you get that groove too. So it's not just da 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 da, right? There's this. Right? If I did it really dramatic. You know, you could hear that. You could hear that accent quite audibly. And having a beat to accent kind of helps you keep time because it's like you're aiming for the in a way it slows things down because you're like going toward that accent. I don't know how to explain it, but like having that accent there just helps you stay with the pulse. So it's not just da 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 da, you know. Anyway, something to keep in mind. And it also helps you soften your hand on the other notes, which also helps you play faster, right? So now we go to the 4 chord, E major in the C shape in Caged, right? So this is the C shape because it looks like a C. If our index finger was the nut, and then we just slide that up to an E. And now we're going to do the same exact thing, same strings and everything, right? We just, from this middle finger, we just go to the pinky. That's all that changes, one note. And it's the same strings and the exact same technique. Okay, then from there, we go to the 1 chord, which is B major, in the G shape. What do I mean by the G shape? Well, think about this shape. If we played it pinky, ring finger, and then index was the nut. Right? And then we just slide that up to a B. So that's the G shape. Now this triad looks the same as the one we just did, just down a string. And now same exact thing, just on these lowest 3 strings. Right? Down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. Right? So the hammer-on, it's just important to keep that index finger really solid. And then that hammer, you want to hit it with the bony tip. And then pull it right off. And when you pull it off, don't pull straight up, pull slightly down and up. Slightly down and up, so that even if you didn't have a pick, you know, you can get it to sound off. You can get it to to make sound. If you were going straight up, nothing happens, right? So it's just got to be slightly down. You're sort of plucking a tiny bit. All right, then we slide up. With that ring finger on the A string to fret 9, which is the 5 chord F sharp, in the C shape. But what's different here is he uses his ring finger, middle finger, and index. Whereas here he used pinky, ring, index. Here he uses ring, middle, index. I believe what Frusciante does sometimes is leaves his middle down so that he can go. But what I'm doing is basically exactly what he did on all the other chords, which is to use the same finger to do the hammer-on, pull-off, and then the next note. So that would be using my ring for the hammer-on, pull-off, then to go back to the D string. But you could go. Personally, I find it harder to get a really clean hammer-on while that finger's down. I guess it still works, but I've gotten in the habit of going. I just find that stronger. Okay, then the second time around, we go back to the way we started. That's the same. Second chord's the same. Third chord is the same. But now the fourth chord, this is cool. So we're halfway there. Now we go back to the beginning. The first 3 chords are the same. We play the G sharp minor the same. We play the E major the same. We play the B major the same. But now for the F sharp, we play it here. Now this is the D shape in Caged. Right? This is a cool little triad. 3, 5, 1. And that again is this chord, right? So this is the F sharp, the 5 chord, which is also here. And we're starting on the 3rd of the chord. So Frusciante, I've heard in an interview, I wish I could find the clip, where he just talks about Caged as, you know, how he sees the fretboard and chords is just seeing these chord shapes and these triad shapes all over the neck. And unlike most players, he really uses the full shapes. You know, check out Under the Bridge for the C shape. Right there, he's using that full C shape for a D major chord. Okay, so that one, the way that we're going to finger that is ring finger, index as a bar. Again, same exact picking pattern. And you see he uses his pinky for the hammer-on. Down, up, down, up, down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. Now, right after that, he goes to the first chord with a different fingering, like this. So then, after that second time around, to restart, he goes to the ring finger and the pinky. Now, in the intro, I put 2 clips together. I put the opening riff from one performance, to a close-up of him playing the riff in another performance, but the close-up was from deeper into the song. So what you're seeing him play is slightly different than what you're hearing, but both ways it's Frusciante. I just wanted it to be all Frusciante, but the fidelity of the concert footage that I found with the close-up was really bad. You can't really hear it that well, so I just pieced together audio and visual. The first thing you see is him go like this, because he's coming from this. So being he's coming from that, the first thing you see is this. Right? But when he first starts the song, when he first starts and first goes into that section, he goes like this. But after this, he goes ring to pinky like that. Now don't be afraid to finger it what works for you. You know, Frusciante's got very stretchy kinds of hands. His hands are very interesting. He does things that seem really hard to me, makes them look easy. So like here, if you want to go, you know, you can come from here and slide with your pinky if you want. Right? So the picking is more important to kind of emulate John and get the accent in the right place, stick with the alternate. But the left hand, you know, we're all a little different, so don't be afraid to try to do it your own way. Cool. So that is the riff. I recommend you practice it really slow. Let's do it slow together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we get to the pre-chorus. All right, everybody, thanks for sticking around until the end of this lesson. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had fun. If you want to continue with part 2 of the lesson where we go over the rest of the song, that is on Patreon and the link is in the description. Before I go, I would like to extend a huge thank you to the following upper tier POW Music patrons: Jason, Shogun7, Nick P, Billy Paps, Pete Elliott, Sean Westfall, Wes Williams, Eric Pillez, Darren Jones, Dr. Ixlin, Andy, Dennis McNulty, Paul Weatherall, Hal Jones, T. Fletch, Dmitry Unkovsky, Greg, Joe, Wayne Evans, Jeff Lambert, Jorge Vaz, Jack Williams, Joe Prengle, LW, Dave Hubner, Fred Locke, Ruben Garcia, Kay Carter, Steve C., Jens Fischer, Joseph Alpert, Mu Jang, Darren, Jonas, Jesse Jacobs, David McPherson, Michael L., Brent Owens, Andrew Gunthart, Jay Brilliant, Jake Martin, William Creighton, Donald James Grass, Chris Freeman, Stephen Pisano, Trampus Thompson, Kent Gresham, John Cushman, Baba Shetty, Derek Mickle, Sean Ellis, Jeff Weatherwax, Boomer Dell, and Joe Fleck. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of the POW Music patrons for helping to make it possible to provide all this free content here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Happy playing. I'll see you next time.